Good morning. This is Thomas McIntyre coming to you live from room 123 on the campus of Washington-Marion Magnet High School, home of the Charging Indians. As you can see, I'm wearing a shirt that has our colors, which are green and gold. I only have the green one on today, but I wanted to talk a little bit about what I see as the main counseling problems and issues that we have here at this school. Now, whenever I tell people that I work at Washington-Marion, I always get responses that run along the lines of, "Oh, I'm sorry," or "God bless you," or my personal favorite, "How is that?" Like, they're asking me how it is at the school, and there are certain ways to answer that question. There's certain ways not to, and I think a lot of the people who ask that question know the reputation that this school has, and they want to hear, like, "Oh my gosh, how are you doing that? How, tell me how bad it is." And I just don't. I try not to. I tell them, well, it has its challenges, but every school has their challenges, and I found that's really true. When I first started teaching, I was teaching at Grand Lake High School, and everyone was like, "Oh, wow, that's a great assignment. You're so lucky." But there were challenges there too. Kids had issues there. There were behavior problems. I realized that sort of small town, rural, nothing ever happens here, bad environment leads to other issues that can sometimes be as serious as the issues that our students are dealing with here. For example, Grand Lake student this year brought a gun to school, and I mean that would be something that people probably have never even imagined could happen, and it happened. But here in an urban, lower socioeconomic class school, we haven't had it happen yet. We've had plenty of fights. We had two yesterday. But no one's brought a gun to school. And I think that too many people would find that shocking. Our school would definitely could be described the way Mrs. Jones in chapter 13, which is the chapter that I'm going to be doing my focus question for this week. But the way that she described the school, where people from the school would ask her, "Well, how are you going to be teaching your gifted students?" And she said, "Our school doesn't have any gifted students." And you really look around at this school and make that same assumption right on the surface. But something that I was fortunate to hear, we had a speaker from one of our in-services. I can't pronounce his name, African American, with a doctorate in history, I think. But he talked a lot about history and talked about how students who are written off as underachievers, criminals, whatever, they have gifts. They're just using them wrongly. And it's our job as teachers to sort of direct that giftedness and those skills that some guy who's on the street, working a side hustle, maybe even as a drug dealer, they have skills that are useful and needed in, society, that we just need to help them redirect and help them find that place. And I think that is the number one counseling need here, is to find those gifts, find skills that students have, nurture them, and then help them find pathways to get out of the cycle of poverty, get out of the cycle of violence, and to use those skills and gifts in ways that, one, benefit them as individuals, but can make them productive members of society. And we've got this big push this school to create what's called a college-going culture. When I was in high school, where I went to high school, at least among my peer group, it was like, "Well, where are you going to college after?" It was shocking when I found out that a student wasn't going to college. A little less shocking to find they're going to the military, because I was in JRTC all 4 years in high school. But I realized that, sort of reflecting back after coming to teach here, that a lot of the students in JROT were the same sort of socioeconomic um, level as the students that I teach here, because our school was this weird combination of super, super affluent and um, not urban. Some of the students could actually walk to school because their housing projects were right up next to our school, and somehow with these worlds coming together, they still stayed super apart, because I would definitely came down in the middle between those two, leaning more towards the affluent, but I took classes with all the affluent kids because we were the smart ones. Um, and almost my entire experience with the other half, though really my only understanding that this was even a thing that existed was in my JRTC class, because I was in it because I wanted get that military background. Well, my dad wanted me to get that military background, but that's a whole nother story. Um, but these students, a lot of them were dumped in it. Like, hey, here's a class you can take, get some discipline, or we just need to find something on the schedule for you. So here you go in JRTC. So that sort of attitude, I realized that now, how it was there in the school. So I've already way over 5 minutes, so I'm gonna try to close it up a little bit. The main counseling need is, first, try to get them to go to college, because we know for sure that going to college is going to help you. It's going to give you, it's going to open doors. It's almost necessary nowadays, but it's not entirely necessary. And I think it's super important to talk to kids who know themselves, know their skills, and know that they aren't going to do well in college, or just know that, I have to go work to help my mom and my dad, or my grandma who raised me after mom and dad left, or whatever the case, that they have situations where they can't go to college, that we give them alternative pathways, that we find those skills that they have and say, here, here's a way to get a really good job, and tell them, like, here are the steps that you need to take, because it's not just college or flipping burgers. Like, you go to a trade school, go get a certification. You can't do a 4-year college, but maybe you can go, for 6 months to Sewell and get a certification and be making more money than I am with a master's degree in history. So those I think are really the big counseling needs. And a little bit, because we're talking in this class, this whole social emotional is looking at the social and emotional phenomenon and atmosphere that we have here, is just teaching kids that it's okay to, back down. Like, you don't have to fight your way out of everything. If someone, quote unquote, disrespects you, you don't have to go take that respect, force them to respect you by beating them up. Like I said, there were 2 fights here today, and 2 of the students are pretty good students that I have in my classes. I'm just like, what? And one of them's up for expulsion now. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, just, you don't have to prove yourself in some sort of combat. Prove yourself in the classroom, get out. You don't have to deal with any of this anymore. But that's a cultural thing, and that's about changing the culture and the environment, and that's a much longer process. It takes a lot more people. Shorter process is just find the individuals who have the skills and get them out, and get them where that they can thrive and they can use those skills to do a lot better.